help but also remember a very different film but very similar. A film by Isaac Julian called Looking for Langston. And Isaac basically, a young black British gay man looking for his identity and sexual identity, basically had to awaken Langston Hughes, bringing him up, even getting in the coffin in order to renew himself and present himself to the world. And the way you use spirituality and you went back to not only Nigeria, but in Africa, a very dangerous homophobic moment. In all the newspapers, I don't know if you remember when Obama went to Senegal, Macky Sall, the president there, said, you have your tradition, we have our tradition, let's decide not to discuss this. You know, that's what, and majority of Senegalese said, applauded him. They didn't see the homophobic side. Uganda probably is worse in this. But let's not talk about which one is worst. Let's just talk about the homophobia and what is happening. And so the way you actually send us back to the spirits to try us, because the spirits do not see us. We all present ourselves naked in front of the spirits. They don't prefer a man or a woman. And then I thought that was very powerful in the film, to go back to the spirits in order to influence your contemporaries in Nigeria. If you can talk about, I mean, obviously the film is very spiritual, but that journey back, if you could talk about that a little bit.
The journey back. It was a couple different journeys of just looking at, for me, like, how did I want to stay connected to Nigeria, right? Because even though being in New York, there's tons of Nigerians, mostly in Brooklyn, there's some in the Bronx, but there still is this disconnection, you know, because as you come here, and especially as you lose your mother tongue, then, you know, people look at you differently, like who's more Nigerian or who's more African. So it was a way for me to say that this is still who I am, right? And I always need to make sure that I go home, right? And going home to connect to my family and going home to connect to myself. And so the film that you saw was a couple trips of me going back. Majority of it was the last time that I was back of making this film, but wanted to make sure that, you know, I could not only make my parents proud, but also make me proud, right? Because their Nigeria is not the same Nigeria as is mine. Right, and so it was important for me to go with my mom and also go on my own to figure out what is Nigeria for me. Who am I as a Nigerian, and who am I as this spiritual person, and how do I make sure that it continues to be part of my life story, right? And so those were one of the reasons why I went back. It's not easy. Nigeria, I don't know how many people here have been to Nigeria. Is one of the, well, I don't want to say, you know, which is the worst, but Nigeria is a rough place. It's a rough and a beautiful place at the same time, right? Very different than Ghana, which was also colonized by the British, but it's like having to have also simultaneous truth at the same times, and like, how am I going to make sure my family's taken care of, you know, paying for things and just trying to pay for yourself and deal with why you went there to begin with, right? And so those things can be a burden, you know? And even though Nigeria, it's always interesting, it gives light to Ghana, but we don't have steady light, right? And so there's just many things you have to contend with to even just to be home. Right. And then when you are home, figuring out what does that look like for you? So it was figuring out, like, how do I plan? What family members would I stay with? What parts of Nigeria would I go visit as I'm going back home? Because Nigeria is so dense in its beauty and also in its population. So it's always a journey within the journey to go back home, right? And so it's figuring out, like, how to plan for that and how does it look when then I'm on the ground. And it always changes. When you get back to Nigeria or any African country, time moves at a very different pace than it does here. And so I had all my plans and all of that went out the window. And the majority of the film that you saw took place in 2011, 2012. And then there was Occupy Nigeria that took place, where it was the first time the entire country there was no movement, because people were tired of the oil prices going up, and so there was a national strike. And so that changed also my journey of going back in terms of what would it look like, not just what would I get for the film, but who can I even see, and what would I even be able to, or who can I even talk to? So it was like lots of things happening.
And